Welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. As you know, I am Curtis Wilson, and along with my partner,
Brian Ziegler. What's up? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, dude, living the life, man. Having a cold one.
There you go.
Enjoying some a little downtime with the kids. We were playing Sonic and Mario at the Winter Olympic Games today. Yeah, dude, we don't have the Switch, but we have a Wii, and dude, those games are so fun with kids about Wyatt and Jack's age and our kids' age. And just had a blast doing that. Over the weekend, man, did a fancy takeout. We did takeout from Toast off 3 Chop, dude.
You went upscale on me.
We went up. Well, you know what? Me and the wife were sitting. She's like, "I need a dinner without kids," and I'm like, "Okay, well, you'll go Terrence West, Toast, 2 or 3 places that nicer establishments." And she's like, "Let's do Toast. We never did there." So here's what we got. Just let me paint the picture. I know you're a food connoisseur there. All right, we got the shrimp and crab nachos.
Yeah, I'm already sold.
You want better? How about some? We also baby back ribs with Gouda mac and cheese.
Man, I'm going to check this place out.
And I'll definitely do it. And then because it's been a long week for Mama and Daddy, jalapeno margaritas.
There you go.
Delicious. So that was pretty awesome, and some good weather played out with the kids. But Brian, you sent me some pics. I guess being cooped up in the house for close to 30 days, you just had to get out, huh?
Took a little pilgrimage with the family. Took a day off from work. I'm working from home, but I took a day off from actually having to be plugged into my computer for a day. So we're like, we've driven around Mechanicsville, went to the couple battlefields, and just kind of got out of the house a little bit, a few times. We were like, let's change it up. Let's, take a 3-hour trip to Blacksburg. Walk around Lane, walk around the drill field, walk around the duck pond, get some fresh air, but in the Mecca as it is. So we took the trip. That was my son's first time in Blacksburg. He had a ball, so it was a good time.
Awesome, man. Now I know you told me that the one weird thing was, especially me and you being undergrads, going to tech and, seeing our friends. The drill field, every time you walk by, campus, there's always a ton of people out there. You told me, like, the eeriest thing was when you went by there, and it was just...
going to the drill field and seeing, like, 30 people, and, like, 10 of those were, like, the gardening crew working on mulching and mowing and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this is a little odd. Not used to this. Like the most people there were actually, I think, seniors from the 2020 class coming back to take senior portraits around campus.
Oh, nice. Where'd you
Hokie House?
Got a live, I know.
Yes, sir. Nice. Got a burger. A1 burger.
Can't go wrong. Cannot go wrong with that, man. Well, it sounds like we both ate very well this weekend, and you definitely had an adventure, and it's crazy things going on, but we're still living our lives.
Still living our lives. Like I said, we kept social distance from everybody, but we just felt like we needed to change the scenery for a little bit. So Blacksburg it was.
Hey, dude, with one kid you can do that. I wouldn't even dare attempt that, because it would be like a bomb going off at some point driving down 81 on the way back or there. So good for you, dude. Good for you. All right. So, man, we have had a lot of things kind of been going down in the Hokie Nation this week. Man, I'm going to start off straight out with you, Brian. Justice Reed committing. Yes, sir.
The big boy.
The big boy. Rumored for a while. He was the top transfer player in the country by most. Defensive end. He played at Youngstown State last year. Got 12.5 sacks at the SCS level. Guy had a crazy journey. I know we just kind of reading up on him. We knew who he was, but getting more details. The 2 major injuries early in his career when he was down at Florida.
Yeah, started at Florida. I mean, that tells you right there the level of caliber player that he is. That You don't get recruited to play defense at Florida for nothing.
Exactly. And he got that rare 7th year of eligibility, and it'll be for the Hokies. Tells a lot about what potentially Tap Tiernick, Justin Ham are looking for in defensive end, 6'3", 270.
This is matching the trend, dude. This is matching the trend we've seen with longer and bigger defensive ends, but also guys that have speed, can get off the edge. So it looks like we're moving away for some of those like quick gap hitters and more of these big, long guys that can get around the edge, but also are long and can get separation for the running game as well. So, yeah, I had a chance to look a little bit of his tape from Youngstown. So, what you're seeing, as I've already said already, I mean, we're talking about a long and fast player. But he's a seasoned player. He's got multiple pass rush moves. He can speed rush you. He can rip. He can swim. He's got a spin. He'll bull rush you. He's got enough size and strength to bull rush you. So, I mean, I like what I'm seeing from him. He uses his hands well, knocks down linemen's hands in pass rush. He does a great job of bringing his hands and creating separation from linemen when he's trying to shed the block in the running game. The thing I like to see is he looks like he's a smart player too, which is important, I think. So, when there's a tackle pulling, he read that quickly, got in the hip pocket, took the path to the running back. As you stated, I mean, he had 2 major injuries early in his career. So, I mean, there's always going to be a potential health question mark just because of that history. But, I mean, I like what I see because, like I said, he trusts his eyes with his reads, and he does a really good job of making plays in the pass game. But also, he's good against the rush as well. He doesn't get eat up by blocks, so that's important.
Absolutely. Do you feel he's weak side or strong side? Just looking at the tape, and is it going to be him with Belmar, him with Garbutt? How do you feel when we roll out Liberty? 5 months from now, who is he opposite of someone, or is he rotating in?
I think he's going to be opposite Garbutt. I think Belmar is going to be the odd man out in this case in terms of the first 2 out there. Now, I think you're still going to get heavy doses of Belmar, but I think Reed is really going to kind of take over that role and make it his own. And Belmar is probably going to come in there either as in a spell role or just to kind of switch up the looks. And like I said, we've got some other guys coming in too that are younger that might be pushing for some of this time as well. But in terms of the first 3 guys out there, I think you're going to see Reed and Garbutt, and then Belmar is going to be the guy that's working in.
Nice. All right. Well, as nice as that was, a few days before that, we got one on the outside. Then we got one on the inside. Big Pius Martin out of Jacksonville, Arkansas, D tackle, 6'3", 318 pounds, number 3 ranked recruit in that state, number 27 defensive tackle in the country at 3-star. I think this kid's going to make it to a 4-star before he signs that line because of what he did at the 247 Combine, where he got one of the all-Combine team honors. Brian, you looked at some of his tape. What's the impressive part, and what can we look to probably clean up a little bit?
The big thing is he's got a quick first step for a guy his size. He gets in the hole, shoots the gap with quickness. He's going to give a lot of people a lot of problems just because of that combination of quickness and size. That's going to be a big problem for centers and guards to handle. So I like that about him. He doesn't give a lot of ground when he's double teamed from what I can see on tape. He does have a couple areas where I'd like to see him improve with his senior year, particularly playing lower. It's common for a guy that big with that size and frame, bending at the hips and staying low. So he'll need to work on that hip flexibility and just keeping a lower center of gravity. And I'd like to see him maybe use his arms and hands better to create separation in the running game. But he does a really good job of just getting in the gap and creating havoc and redirecting the running back and making the quarterback have to make a decision because he can't step up.
Nice. And Brian, it's telling us more and more as we look at how we're recruiting defensive tackle. I mean, we've said this in some episodes before. We're trying to get bigger.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when I hear you say some of that stuff and how we're recruiting linebackers, and you take a look at like Will Johnson, who's probably going to play either whip or outside linebacker. He's a smaller guy, probably going to play somewhere around 215, 220. But it's almost like, well, the goal isn't like the gaps anymore. The goal is we're going to clog, and it's almost going to be where it used to be spill to lanes. It's going to be no, we want to spill outside.
Yep.
Not spill into specific lanes anymore. We're spilling outside because we're going to be so big up front, and that's the goal. So it's great to see, man. Let's move on, dude. I sent you the article. I know you've read it. I mean, we're on the verge of potential free agency in football and basketball at a collegiate level. The one-time transfer waiver, it looks like that on 4/24, the NCAA is going to have the meeting according to Kendall Rogers at d1baseball.com, with the vote probably happening in May. The rule in general just grants a one-time no sit-out for every sport.
Yep.
Brian, give me just from a guy who played collegiately, you've had friends that played at levels, guys you coached. What's your take of just this in general? Just in general, what do you think it is?
I mean, I think we saw this coming when we started with the transfer portal, and we started with a little bit more of a loosening of that in terms of player flexibility. This is just taking it a step further with not penalizing a kid for wanting to transfer before they obtain their degree from whatever their initial institution is, or unless there's a coach, or if they get a waiver, whether a coach leaves or there's a medical situation or whatever it is. This kind of takes those waivers out of play for a lot of these kids, because now, as long as it's within grounds, they can go ahead and make their move. Now, for some players, it might still be in their interest to still try to go the waiver route if they would apply, just because it gives them flexibility in the future to use their one-time time, and down the road if they so desire. But I think it's good for players in terms of institutions. I think in the short term, it's probably beneficial to us, because now we don't have to sit and wait as to whether Raheem Blackshear is going to be eligible for the 2020 season, because y'all know I've hyped this kid up since I heard that he was coming to play for the Hokies. So that will take some of that suspense out of the game, like we had with Brock last year, waiting and then getting bad news, and then waiting for the appeal, and then getting more bad news. So that'll take a lot of that out of it. Especially, last year Brock was a big get, and we were excited to get him on the field. I think just like that this year, we're excited to get Raheem Blackshear on the field and see what he can do. So not having to jump through those hoops is going to be nice. Long term, I'm not sure. I think as a fan base, we've had positive and negative responses to how the transfer portal has treated the Hokies. I think year one was rough. I think year two has been better, other than the potential miscommunication with what Fu said after whether the guys that were there could come back. But outside of that, I think year two has went a lot better. So we'll see what the future holds. But I think in the short term, it's a win for us. And long term, we'll see. I mean, everybody else is going to be impacted that. So it's all going to be kind of a trickle down and a trickle up, depending on, where these guys are and where they're trying to head to.
I think where we are currently in the pecking order of, NCAA football, I think it's beneficial either way for us, because, you think about some of the guys we go after 5-star, we miss on the high fours that go to Ohio State, Alabama. Well, they're probably still going to be going there, but now those guys almost have the out to say, wait a second, I don't like it here. Well, these guys sold me. They promised the Mercedes Benz. This is a freaking Pinto.
Yeah.
They're nothing like they acted on the road. Man, I hate this. But it's also going to open up doors for guys slightly lower than us. Your 2-stars who are at a lower school who said, man, I'm not getting the looks. Well, you know what? We got the ACC. We have great fan bases. We travel. So it's almost like, could we go start pecking those kids? I do think we need to get the recruiting department growing for this simple reason. You got to have a couple guys kind of, to me, looking at, okay, who are some of these smaller guys who probably would benefit from coming to a Power 5 school? Who are the Power 5 guys who were sold the Mercedes but given the Pinto? Who's not happy with their situation?
Yeah.
And I think we're in that spot right now where we're kind of beneficial because we're in that 20 to 30 range where we're competing, but we're not getting 10 5-stars every year. So I like the way it shapes up for the Hokies. Now talk to me in 2 or 3 years, I could be like, yeah, these kids just transfer, whatever.
I'm with you on one thing there, because I think from a prestige level of our school, we're in a really good spot because we're not quite at the blue blood big dog era, but we've still got enough clout and prestige where once guys are here, they kind of want to stay here. They're not looking to jump up. So I mean, there's going to be a couple maybe here or there, but that's going to be few and far between. So we're looking at maybe you guys want to step down a little bit because they're not seeing the playing time because they're behind 2 or 3 5-star guys that Bama or Florida or Clemson has recruited. And then, like you said, guys like Justice Reed that maybe were journeymen or had some situations that caused them to play at a lower level, looking to step up as they close things out. So I definitely think it can benefit us well in both directions. I'm just hoping that, we don't end up with a situation where guys come to play for us for 2 years, look pretty good, and all of a sudden jump to a big dog. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, that's true, but you also got to think with the big dogs, they're always getting the 5-star. So if you're at Tech and you're doing well, I want to go to Ohio State. Well, dude, do realize, that's 11 5-stars coming in, 4 at your position. Yeah. And we're not trying to say much, but sometimes if those certain guys, they get a little differentiated with treatment. Some don't, some do.
It's going to be a special case with that. I don't think there's going to be widespread just because just from a blue blood perspective, I don't think there's going to be a lot of offers for that level of talent that late in the cycle because they're going to want to see how their recruiting class shakes out before they start looking at some of these transfers. Whereas we're kind of building those transfers into our recruiting cycle a little bit more because it helps us fill out our roster a little bit better.
Absolutely. All right, Brian. Mike Nizolik wrote an article in the Roanoke Times concerning Ryan Willis and the Duke game, and you texted me and said you have something to say.
I have some feelings about this.
Feelings.
Oh, God. So,
hey, stop. Do we need to go ahead and put the E on this episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So this whole thing with I was injured, but I was battling through it, and I was trying to make myself, there for the team, but I probably ended up hurting the team is pretty much bullshit because at that point, he knew if he didn't play in that game, he was getting Wally pipped, and he didn't want to get Wally pipped. So that's what happened. That's the long and short of it. Anything else is kind of bullshit. All due respect to Willis in this case, but that's an explanation after the fact. That wasn't, and to me, that wasn't the situation. We were drowning a little bit before Duke. We were definitely drowning after Duke, and he was worried about getting Wally pipped, and he did.
He did. Unfortunately for us, freaking Duke happened. And it makes me angry as a fan when I read that article because remember that was a bye week going in that game. If we walk out of Furman and we know he's hurt significantly, Hendon gets to start there. Hendon gets not 1 week of practice, he gets 2 full weeks of practice. 2. And where it really irritates me as a fan is you make the point of being Wally Pipp. That is what it is. But you don't sacrifice your team like he did.
Well, yeah, that's why it hurt. It hurt. The article hurt me more. It came off older than now. Like I was trying to fight through this for the team. Like, no, you were trying to fight through this so you didn't get Wally pipped.
You were trying to keep your job, and it wasn't like this was a minor ailment. You had a shoulder injury and you had a significant foot injury. Knowing that part of our offense are off some of these zone reads where you got to shoot the gap and you got to take off. You didn't look right in that game. So I know people feel like maybe you and a few people texted me, but it just irritates me because if you take the projection of our season, we're 2-1 going into that game. You give him in those 2 weeks, he showed in the Miami game, he was ready. He goes to probably the Duke game, and I know we got our asses smacked that night. I know we did. But I think that game's completely different because you saw the next week with the confidence those guys play with Hooker. We probably win that game, and the season's a different story. The Virginia game doesn't matter because we win the Coastal regardless what happens there. So it irritates me from a hindsight fan perspective because, we talk about that was a 9 or 10 win team. Yeah, that was a 9 or 10 win team without Ryan Willis. We don't lose BC. We don't lose Duke. And maybe as Hendon's development, we don't lose UVA.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to end my rant there and end with something happy. Hey, this guy got a reply from the coach.
What did Fu throw at you, man? What did Fu throw at you?
So, first of all, I think one of Fu's, maybe his jokey pieces is if he sees a famous artist, he will you saw the Prince Drake thing, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a picture of Angus Young. And anyone that knows hard rock music, you know Angus Young. Well, what does he tweet out? Wait a minute, that's Axl Rose, right? with a goofy emoji on the end. So I just hit up and I said, "Hey, coach, appetite for destruction or use your illusion?" And he pops back 2 minutes later, appetite for destruction. But I always try to whistle patience.
Boom.
And and Patience is a great song. The whistling, it is tough. I do wonder if Axl Rose did that with one take, but it was just again, it's a different side of our coach. He's popping and answering people. And it was just kind of cool to see that I got the response. So, and appetite is, as you know from being a ginormous Guns N' Roses fan, I'm a huge one as well. That is the best album cover to cover there.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, what I love about that album is that it's the top-selling debut album of all time, and for the first 8 months, no one paid it any attention. No one paid it any attention. But then they went on tour with Aerosmith. And all of a sudden, them album sales started climbing. It's like, oh, okay, this I need to buy that album. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Favorite cut from the album?
Oh, man. Mr. Brownstone.
Yeah. We've been in drunken conversations, and you always say that. I'm always Paradise City. I don't know why. Probably because of the road I lived on as a kid. And, it just stuck with me. All right, so folks, we've been kind of hyping it up this week. We are having a 2-part series of the Hokie Mount Rushmore. This week, we are starting with the offense.
We did ourselves a favor and made it a little bit easier by starting with the offense.
Yes, if not, we would still be in delegation chambers probably discussing defense. But I will say this: the 4 guys you hear today from me and Brian, these are unanimous.
Yes.
I think we had a slight different order, but these are the 4 guys. But we want to give some love to the honorable mentions. One of my honorable mentions did not make the list. Jim Pine, great offensive lineman, All-American, NFL. And, I get it. But, I want to at least throw that out there. Jim was right there on the cusp for me. He did not make the top 4. Now, Brian, with you, I believe both of yours are here, right?
Yeah.
Both of yours.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So
both of mine made honorable mention. All the 2 that I had honorable mention are both in the honorable mention category for us. So we decided we wanted to have 2 honorable mentions, and my 2 were 5 and 6, and Curtis's I think were 5 and 7 or 6 and 7. So
yeah, something like that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start it. The first honorable mention, man that shares my last name, Mr. David Wilson.
Danville,
Virginia, George Washington High School.
Our rivals.
Exactly. guys you played against. You didn't play against David, but you played against some good guys there.
Kenny Lewis, another Hokie.
Kenny Lewis, another Hokie, exactly. But the one thing I always kind of what stuck out to me with David, and one of our best friends, Coach Robbie Compton.
Shout out Hambone.
Hambone, shout out. Hambone got to see David up close and personal as he was coaching the defensive line at Halifax. And, man, he talked about always how fast he was. And don't get me wrong, David was fast. I think it was like a 4.41. And if you remember how David was built, David wasn't some skinny guy. David was what, right, 5'11 and a half, like 210. And it was muscle to run as fast as he could. But, dude, what always got me, and we've discussed this before, and always goes that Clemson ACC championship game in one of those runs where he went to the right, kind of went back, and a guy caught him. And, dude, he's on one leg, continuing to move forward, and that balance.
Yes.
Man, oh, my God. It was just like he should have lost 15 yards. He gained like 8 because he kept his balance. And then when he finally got his second foot down, he took off towards the corner. I should have went to VT Freak's thing and just watched that again. But, I can still ingrain in my mind that run. What do you think about David?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, the balance. I mean, there were several runs throughout his career where, like, a guy had him by his shoulder pads, maybe a foot off the ground, but he's still got leg drive and he's dragging this guy. I'm like, how are you still moving forward with the guy literally pulling your shoulder pads to the ground? It was amazing. And then all the clutch kick returns that he had, man. I mean, the guy just had great carrier vision on those kickoffs, man. I mean, probably as good as we've ever had doing that since I can remember. And just being a likable guy. I mean, doing the backflips and just looking like always got a smile on his face. Everything he's doing. I mean, you never saw the guy without a smile. So I think, career numbers aside, we're talking career numbers of 2,662 yards rushing, 363 receiving, and 23 touchdowns. But just what he did, kind of carrying that team, especially in the 2011 season, but also with 2 NFL talents and still being able to break out in 2009 and 2010 as well. So
absolutely. Yeah. And in 2011, he won ACC Player of the Year, was first team ACC. You mentioned the career rushing. He holds the Virginia Tech, single season rushing that year with 1,709. And the kickoff returns you mentioned, 1,324 yards, which is crazy. But 2010, when he was the primary backup in 2010, one of the primary backups, 26.5 yards per kick return. That's insane. That's literally insane. That's like saying, hey, even in today's age, to where, just let it go in the end zone. Don't worry about it. He'll let it go. You better be careful kicking it to the end zone because he can bring it out. And then he went on, first round pick of the Giants. Unfortunately, that neck injury, stopped his career. But you know what? Even through that, he never quit smiling. He never quit being a happy guy. I got a chance. I think it was 14. Yeah, 14 was the year. Like, he played 12 and 13, and the neck injury happened in 14. But he was up at Tech, right there in the Hokie Village next to Lane Stadium, out there talking to people. Had a chance, and just so happy, just so engaging. Such a great man. Now, Brian, your guy.
We've hyped him up in our last episodes. I'm going to give him a lot more hype this week. So, honorable mention number 2, Lee Suggs. One half of the Untouchables. I'm going to call him Touchdown Machine.
Oh, gosh, yes. Lee Suggs. Hold on, Brian. While you say that, his 2000 year, the guy scored 27 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That means he's averaging 2 touchdowns a game.
So let's take you back to the beginning. So William Fleming High School, sophomore year, he was a defensive end and backup running back. Starter goes down, first carry, 70-yard touchdown. So there was birthed the Lee Suggs myth. I mentioned last episode he trucked my boy Jesse Rogers on his way to the end zone.
He did
when Halifax played Fleming. People were at the 1998 VHSCA All-Star game. People were mentioning his name right next to Ronald Curry and Michael Vick. So
impressive.
This was not somebody to be fooled around with even in high school. Saw some spot time, garbage time in the run in 1999, but juggernaut in 2000. He just mentioned 27 touchdowns, 1,200 yards rushing. Gosh. Missed pretty much the whole 2001 season. Played in the one game, got injured, but then right back at it, especially with KJ in there. The Untouchables year, 2002. 1,325 yards and another 22 touchdowns while splitting carries with arguably one of the best running backs in the school history. So
Lee was a beast, man. And then he gets drafted in the 4th round with the Browns. He plays, like Lee played 6 or 7 years, pretty successful. Lee was awesome, man. And, like you mentioned last time, Lee ran with so much power, but he had the sneaky speed.
Yeah.
You would just think, Lee's just going to hit me. And then he turned on the jets, and it's like, oh, God, I was prepared to get hit, and now he's up the field.
He had a high gear that you didn't see when he was running between the tackles. Once he got past the linebacker level, all of a sudden, oh, he's got that gear? Okay, well, see you later.
Touchdown.
Good night.
And I'll say this, you're lucky I missed Lee because he was 02. My first game was 03, but still remember Lee running on the TV, man. So, all right. So, folks, we're here. We are at the 4. We are at the Rushmore of the Hokie offense. And, Brian, I see here you wrote down you're giving me the honor.
You have the honor, sir.
Well, the honor, and I don't think anyone will question this. The first man that would be on this, it would be Michael Vick. I don't think there's a question.
There's no dispute there.
All right. Michael Vick. And I always do this. I feel like for people that might be younger listening to this, Michael Vick, Newport News, Virginia, Warwick High School. This is the guy who put Virginia Tech in the upper echelon of college football. There is no doubt about it. 95. We had the Sugar Bowl. There was an ascension. We were considered a top 25 team. What Michael Vick did in 1999 put us at a level that I think we as fans strive to get back to. He was 22-1 as a starter, Brian. I'm going to go with my epitaph now.
Here we go.
22-1. He lost to probably one of the greatest college football teams of all time in Florida State. That's his only loss ever. And in my heart, in my mind, in my soul, if he's playing in that 2000 Miami game in which we went to war with them, we win that game, we go play Oklahoma for the national title. That is the way I feel about that.
Agreed.
And also, he changed the game of college football because for anybody, for the first time you saw Michael Vick, and whether it be the flick, and I mean that little and it would just zart out. Or when he started running, man, it wasn't you sat back and relaxed. You got right on the edge of your seats. And I was watching the third quarter of the national championship game on ACC Network the other night. And Gary Danielson, who a lot of people pick on because, Gary's older now. He makes some goofy statements. But he made a perfect summation of what Michael Vick is. Michael Vick is the holy grail of QBs for this next century. And I kind of sat there and I thought about that as I heard it, and he's right. If you take a look, I want you to take a look at the 4 guys who were in the finals of the NFL this year.
Okay.
Think about that. Jimmy Garoppolo. You ever seen Jimmy's throw, dude?
Yeah.
It's a little snap. It's a snap. Jimmy's athletic, too. Mahomes with the big gun, but an athlete. Lamar. Lamar wasn't there this year, excuse me, but Lamar's one of them. Tannehill, who's an athletic guy. This is what happened. He literally changed the position. And I'm going to get to his accolades after I throw it over to you. But as VT fans, we know how good he was. And when you in that game in Morgantown, man, I still can remember it. I can still visualize it. But that team was down, it was over.
Yeah.
Probably everybody in the country felt like, cute story, but it's over. And what he did there, and that run down the sideline is he's going, and those defenders, like, we've got leverage on him. And, dude, when he turned it and the Jets went on, and he went another 25 yards upfield to get in range for Shane Graham's field goal, it's lore.
Yeah.
That's lore.
Absolutely.
That's kills. And then watching the third quarter the other night, dude, it's speechless. Because, yes, Kendricks had the runs, but when he ran those options, that one-option touchdown, dude, those guys weren't worried about Andre Kendricks. And Andre Kendricks is a good player in his right as a VT player. Dude, you could see it. They were coming off, and everybody's like, what's Vic going to do? Pitch, touchdown. And then they're like, oh, we got to remember the other guys here. Cut in 15 yards up the field in a flick. Sorry, Brian.
Well, you got to think about one of the best teams ever took it as their role to shut down Michael Vick, and they couldn't do it.
Yep, they couldn't.
That's what it was. I mean, they went into that game saying we have to shut down Michael Vick, and they still could not do it. Now they won the game, but they didn't stop Mike. Nope. And I mean, and when you talk about the Miracle in Morgantown, I think of that run, and I think of the BC run, because the BC run epitomizes everything that Michael Vick could do as an athlete, and everything kind of, it encapsulated his abilities and kind of how he played the game. You had the drop back, you had the escapability in the backfield there. You had the get to the edge, and then all of a sudden you had the acceleration where they think they still got him, but they don't. And there's the broken tackle, and then he cuts back to the middle of the field, and then one guy left. All right, I'm going to put on the spin cycle and make this a little flashy.
Absolutely.
Touchdown.
And then some of those passes over the top to Andre Davis, and we saw it early, and I think the one that epitomizes him most, and this is his pro game, that pass to Deshaun Jackson against the Skins, he literally threw that ball 76 yards on the fly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't he got into it. If you remember that, it was like a little step flick.
He had settled in at the 5-yard line and then just took a big step and flung it.
It was crazy. And it's just like, I remember him doing that to Andre Davis, like where Andre gets behind the defense. It's like, oh, Mike's going to put that on the money without a question.
Just a good arm quarterback would have had to crow hop once or twice to get the ball that far.
Not Mike, man, freaking nature. Just to run down some of the accolades. Third in the Heisman votes, he should have won if the daggum committee wasn't so staunch as they were conservative.
Yeah.
It took 8 years later for a freshman to finally win. Mike deserved that trophy. Ron Dane should literally drive to Newport News, leave it at Mike's door, and say, "It's yours, dude." Because for real, it should have been. He was the Big East player in '99, along with the Rookie of the Year. Another insane stat, Brian, and I want you to think about how college football was 21 years ago. He led the nation in passing efficiency. That's still third all time. And you think about 20 years ago, you could press, you could hit quarterbacks. He's still third all time. 21 years later, when the game has significantly changed to more air raid concepts where guys are getting crazy stats.
Yeah. I mean, I know they're throwing more, but they're also throwing more high percentage passes with a lot more wide open lanes.
Exactly. Archie Griffin Award that year, which is the NCAA MVP. First pick in the draft. Numbers, again, they weren't mind-blowing. 3,200 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, 1,200 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns. The numbers aren't spectacular, but as Hokie fans like us that have been fans for years, we were running 70% of the time with Lee or Kendricks or some of those other Stith was on those teams too.
Well, right? I mean, look at 2000 we just mentioned earlier. I mean,
27
touchdowns.
But how he opened everything up is why that year, number 7 offense in the country. Again, a peak we desperately, if we ever got back to with, some of the defensive talents, it would have been over. So, number 1 of 1, slap it on the wall.
Boom.
Mike Vick. All right, Brian.
Well, I'm going with what I know here for our second Mount Rushmore recipient here, and it's going to be Jake Grove.
Oh, yeah.
Jake Grove, center. Jefferson Forest High School product. Grew up on a cattle farm outside of Lynchburg in Bedford County. We talk about the lunch pail a lot with the defense, but if there's an offensive player that epitomized lunch pail, it was this guy.
Absolutely.
We got 2 offers coming out of high school: Virginia Tech, VMI. This was an undersized player coming out of high school and went on to be one of the best centers that we've ever had. Remington Trophy winner in 2003, first team All Big East, unanimous All-American, 5 years in a row, Super Iron Hokie. This is a guy that, again, came in undersized and then broke the center record for power clean in year 1. So this is the type of baller that I'm talking about. I mean, and another thing, when you talk about centers standing out to players and to fans, usually it's for the wrong reasons. Usually it's because they missed a line check or they missed a block or something like that. But
bad snaps.
Jake Grove is a center that stood out for good reasons. He was great at calling protections. He was great at adjusting for blitzes, and he was a guy that was nicknamed Dirty and earned that title from time to time because he was willing to take you to the ground. And you got to like somebody that has that dog in him and is willing to do what he needs to do to win, do what he needs to do for his team, and do what he needs to do for himself. He was drafted 2nd round by the Oakland Raiders in 2004, and the Hokies retired his number in 2006. So this is an all-time guy here. And like I said, from a lunch pail perspective, this is as good as it gets on the offensive side of the ball, in my opinion.
And I'm agreed with you. And you said so much about it. And again, there's not a lot of stats for centers, but Jake anchored those lines in those years at Virginia Tech, 2002, 2003, especially 2003, to the Virginia Tech Hall of Fame draft. He played 6 years, got banged up and didn't play as long. But you make the point. He is one of those offensive guys who had the lunch pail mentality. He was one of those guys. What was it? The old statement was gentrified, right?
Yeah.
Undersized coming out in high school, and he grew into a mountain of a man. And again, we kind of look back, and those offensive lines were really, really good back in the early 2000s with the guy like Grove. And Jake's now, I think Jake's just living back in Forest and coaching at Jefferson Forest, because what else is there more to do with a guy like that? And I'd love – he's one of those guys that I'm sure you'd love to meet.
Yeah.
You'd
absolutely.
love to meet just as an offensive lineman, just to talk shop with him. And I think I put him at I want to say I put Jake at 2.
You put him at 2. I think I put him at 3.
Okay, so there we go.
Yeah.
So, but just because he was that good, and you could argue, say maybe the best center in college football history. I'm sure there can be arguments about that, but when you win the Remington, you're definitely on the elite level.
You put your name in the conversation, especially when you block for guys going out there and getting that many touchdowns, rushing the ball, and winning those unanimous. The unanimous All-American is the big thing for me. On top of the Remington, is that that's 2 accolades side by side. When you put them together, it says a lot.
Oh, 100%. And you talk about being unanimous, and when you hear unanimous, I think what are there 4 All-American polls, 4 or 5? There's a few out there. He was won every single one. That's impressive. All right.
All right, buddy. I'm going to throw this next one to you, man. So I know this is near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to let you take it away and see where we go from here.
Yeah, man. Well, that 2003 year when he was opening holes for one Kevin Jones, next on the Hokie Mount Rushmore. Springfield, Pennsylvania, Cardinal O'Hara. Man, in the last episode, y'all know the emotion with Kevin Jones. To me, the first touchdown I ever saw in Lane Stadium was Kevin. But Kevin was the 1-1 of the 2001 recruiting class. The 1-1.
Yep.
Nobody higher than him. He was the U.S. Army Player of the Year. We know about that game. We see it every year as we get into January, December. So he was their Player of the Year. And dude, Kevin Jones lived up to everything he was billed as. Everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's one of those things where if people ever question, hey, top guys can't go to Tech and succeed, bullshit. Not only did he succeed, he went over the top. I sit here and I think about it. Brian, you mentioned that Rutgers run, and I had to go back and see it. So I did. And, man, that run is all-encompassing of what he was as a player. It was that short side run. The blocks did materialize. He stopped, went back about 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and the next thing you know, he's starting to run away from guys. And then he got down there, and Rutgers thought they had him leveraged, and it looked like he was going to go out. I talked about it last time, that cut. He did that quick cut, left, burners, gone, touchdown. And, Kevin, and you hear stories about Kevin. You see Kevin, he's such a successful guy now, and he just seems like the nicest guy. But man, just how he played. Brian, can I just ask the question? I love Emo. I love some of those guys from the 04 team. Dude, what if he was on 04?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But I mean, you saw him in person like I did.
I think in the future we're going to talk about the 04 team in more depth. So I'm sure we'll get to that at a later time as well. But yeah, absolutely. That would have been kind of the icing on the cake there.
And career wise, 3,475 yards, 35 TDs with only one season as the primary starter, and that was 03. He was backing up Lee the first 2 years, and then he split time in 2002. 2003, the big year, 1,647 yards, 21 touchdown, which led the NCAA, 5.9 per rush, consensus All-American. Second all-time leading rusher in Tech history, third in single season, third in single game with 241. That's just an insane number. First-round draft pick by the Lions, and I stated before, if he doesn't get that Lynn Frank injury, which caused some other injuries, I really do believe he would have been considered one of the best running backs of that era of football. And, 25-7, man. 25-7. And yeah, love Kevin, man. Just love Kevin. And he is to me, he is the best running back in Virginia Tech history.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much you can say about Kevin. I mean, you said it, and I made a point on the last time we were talking about our first trips to Lane and the Rutgers run. Like I said, that's what I everything hammered home for me was just watching, Kevin Jones and Lee Suggs just completely tear up a field going for 350 yards rushing combined. I mean, that's something I didn't know that could happen in real life at that point. So it was so cool to see. And, Kevin was always, he could make the big play, but he also could make the good play. And I think that was probably one thing that was maybe underrated about him is that, you knew he could hit the home run, but I mean, he was out there getting those tough yards too. You didn't see it as much because Lee got a lot of those tough yards early on in the run, but in 03, he was out there getting those tough yards on his own too. And I mean, he could do it. He was really an all-purpose back that also had, that home run potential.
Absolutely, man. All right. So let's go to the final stone we have carved out on the Hokie Mount Rushmore. This is yours, big guy.
This is mine, and it might be a little controversial, even though it was mutual between both of us to put him up here.
It was
mutual. So in our last slot here, we're giving it to Tyrod Taylor. 5-star out of Hampton, number 1 dual threat quarterback in the country, number 3 overall quarterback in the country. Came to us. It came down to Virginia Tech in Florida, and he came to Virginia Tech. Piggybacking off what Curtis said, that's kind of him and Kevin Jones are kind of the 2 times we've gotten those really big time 5-star guys that really had no other affiliation with Virginia Tech other than wanting to be a part of it. Some of what I'm going to tell here is the sad story. I got to tell the sad story so we can get to Nebraska and we can get to 2010. So the sad story is that, we probably should have had in either 08 or 07 some sort of red shirt year for this guy, and we didn't.
He shouldn't have played.
Burned his red shirt against LSU.
Why? Sorry, Ron.
Yeah. Burned his red shirt against LSU. Burned it again the sophomore year against ECU because we wanted to chase 10 wins and needed more offense before we started conference play. So, we get to a situation where I think in a lot of ways we hamstrung his development, not only by burning those shirts, but by putting him in a timeshare once we did burn those shirts. So that gets me to Sean Glennon. I feel like once we put him in over Sean, we should have kept him in. I know he had a couple high ankle sprains that caused Sean to get back in there, but as soon as Tyrod was ready to go, he should have went full bore and not split time. I know he had that bad game against Duke where he had 5 turnovers. Stick with your man. Anyway, that gets us to 2009. So 2009, what went down significantly for Tyrod Taylor was turnovers. And you know what happened? Wins went up. And we also had, it's not quite as spectacular as the miracle in Morgantown, but it was Tyrod's miracle in Morgantown, the drive against Nebraska.
The miracle in Blacksburg.
Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna hold on before you go any further. Did not see that live. Was at a wedding, but my phone went insane sitting there at that reception table.
Man, I mean, so we get the long pass up the sideline to set everything up, and then Tyrod dancing in the backfield. When's he gonna throw it? Clock's ticking down.
And Ndamukong Suh breathing down his neck.
Yes, sir. Sue is coming. Tyrell Roberts. What's up, my man? Touchdown. There we go.
And what did Bill Ross say?
He did it.
Tyrod did it. And didn't see it live, but caught all the replays. But
man, it just that was kind of the thing that started turning the tide there, and I think, and then 2010 really put all the pieces together as a full quarterback for us. I mean, he had 2,743 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, only 5 picks, another 659 yards rushing, and 5 touchdowns. Career numbers: 7,017 yards, 44 touchdowns. 2196 rushing, another 24 touchdowns. I mean, the guy could do it all. He could run, he could pass. And the thing, he came in as a dual threat, but the thing a lot of people talked about throughout his career at Virginia Tech and even in the pros is that he was a running quarterback that looked to pass first.
Yes, he did.
Even when he got out of the pocket, his eyes were downfield. He was looking to make the right play, not just the play that was athletic. He wasn't trying to go out there and be a hero every play. And he played within the game despite his athleticism. So I think that's the thing that's underrated about him. And we've seen that even more in the NFL with him being able to protect the ball the way he does and how ball security is paramount for him. Speaking of the NFL, 6th-round draft pick by the Baltimore Ravens and projected starter for the Chargers going into next season.
Absolutely. And remember, he was the guy that took Buffalo back to the playoffs. Yes. Tyrod Taylor did that. And Tyrod's, he's a starter in the league. He's been in the league. It's tough to think. He's been in the league 10 years now. And you could tell I think Tyrod's probably going to play another 5 or 6 years because he is that consummate backup who is a professional, who helps the younger guys, but who listens to the older guys like you with Phillip. Like, he didn't complain anything about that. You just saw him just go work. and help the team out as much as I can. And you talked about something that did make Tyrod great was he was looking to pass. Now, when he broke one off, like, remember that run against FSU at Lane where they were just – you could just tell that was like the will breaker.
Oh, yeah.
But I go to the Stanford game in the Orange Bowl. He goes down the left sideline in the scramble drill, and he could have ran and probably got 10 yards and been closed it in, make it closer for the first down, but he kept looking to pass. And David Wilson broke in, out. And Tyrod did that little spin move, and when he came back around, he fired it, and it hit David right in the chest for a touchdown because he was wanting to be a quarterback. And like you said, No Ties came in successful, has all the accolades. And just, I mean, Tyrod was kind of the guy that we got to see after we graduated, so we weren't always out partying the night before and sleeping all part of the game during the day. But he was professional. And I've got a number 5 jersey. That's my jersey. I'm not one of these people that buy a ton of jerseys. But when I came across that, I said, I got to have it. I love Tyrod as a player. He's also one of those guys, Brian, that I'm sitting here, you're talking about the 2004 season. We might have to do the whole, what if this guy comes back in 2011 with David Wilson, Danny Cole, Jared Boykin, and the potential Logan Thomas at tight end. We might have another episode in the bag there, man.
The national champion that could have been. There's 2 or 3 of those that we could really talk about.
I mean, we lost 2 games that year. We lost 2 games. They were both at Clemson. And there was a guy that was quarterbacking Clemson at that time that if we had done it right would have been our backup. That's another time for another day. Another story. All right, so Hokie Nation out there, as we wrap up our Hokie Mount Rushmore of Michael Vick, Jake Grove, Kevin Jones, and Tyrod Taylor, we're tweeting out, give us your Mount Rushmore of Hokie offensive players. And I want to see some names because these guys are the guys that encapsulated our generation. Now, I look back, Carroll Dale, Cyrus Lawrence, a couple other guys too. But this is our Hokie Mount Rushmore. So, but give us yours. Is there somebody we missed? Is there somebody that you feel is more deserving? Brian, while sitting here doing this on a Tuesday night, have we missed anything in the Twitter sphere? Any commitments? Any top 10s while we loosen all the ends up?
Nothing that's worth mentioning in the podcast, buddy. Nothing that's worth mentioning in the podcast. We'll maybe tweet some stuff out later, but I think we're good to go at this point.
Awesome, bud. Awesome. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Boundary Corner Podcast. My name is Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
As always, we let Jason Long play us out. Catch him on Spotify and Apple Music. We thank you for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies!